Lego fans, Star Wars fans, welcome to another episode of Lobricks. For those of you new to the series, this is the video series where we are doing a giant Star Wars Tatooine diorama on an old barf-ridden ping pong table. Before we get to this week's episode, if you like the show, please hit like. Please force choke the subscribe button, as Solo Wookie would say. And as always, we'd love to hear your comments and feedback. Basically, spread the love about Lobricks to your friends and family. So, this week's episode. So, pulling up the plan really quick. Last week we were on the Dune Sea. We're going to move back over to Mos Eisley. And the reason is, we actually only have two more buildings, technically three buildings, that I want to add to Mos Eisley. One is a tower in the background just to show some of the scale of Mos Eisley. The other is the rest of the marketplace, kind of finishing off Dune Street, if you will. And then finally, today's episode is the Dowager Queen, which is a colony ship that crash landed on Tatooine more than 100 years ago, or in Star Wars vernacular, at least 100 years BBY, before the Battle of Yavin. So, first, let's do a little history on the Dowager Queen and see kind of where it fits into canon and where it doesn't. And then we're going to show you what on the board. One note, though, is I wasn't able to do a speed build on the Dowager Queen, which I know some people will say, did you actually build this thing or did you buy it? I did build it, but it was built over a fairly long period of time with a lot of trial and error. So I wasn't able to speed build it. But on the next couple of weeks, I'm definitely going to be doing more speed builds because I know that was a request we got. So anyways, let's get to the Dowager Queen. So according to Wikipedia, in the canon section, the Dowager Queen, there's little more than a couple of sentences that talk about it. It was an early colony ship that crashed on Tatooine long before the Galactic Civil War, and the wreckage was upended. So basically, it became a landmark in the spaceport town of Mos Eisley, and I believe this came from Battlefront 2. It's located at the intersection of Dune Street and Inner Curve Street, and really, there's only two appearances of the Dowager Queen. One is in the special edition of New Hope, when the Landspeeder with Ben Kenobi and Luke is approaching the Cantina. You can see it briefly in a scene we'll be showing you. And then in Star Wars Battlefront 2, you see a lot more of it. You actually see the entirety of it, where in New Hope, you only saw the bottom half of it. So the only canon versus non-canon pieces of this, in more Star Wars legends, is that the Dowager Queen came from a planet called Bestine, which was an agricultural planet. Nothing really new to add there. And the other thing is that it is currently a hotel. So that is why when I was saying it's sort of a third building, it pretty much has become almost like a landmark or building at this point. So there you go. There's a little history on the Dowager Queen from the Star Wars perspective. So now that you know what the Dowager Queen is and kind of how it fits into the history of Star Wars, I wanted to walk you through the complicated process that I had to build this thing. It wasn't easy, and a lot of it had to do with some of the pictures kind of conflicted with themselves of the Dowager Queen from the different sources. So for starters, let's go back to the original place where the Dowager Queen made an appearance, which was the 1997 special edition of A New Hope, where you really only saw the bottom half of it crashed into the sand. So let's have a look at that quick snippet of a scene, and then kind of let's talk through why this right out of the gate kind of caused problems, particularly when the Dowager Queen made a reappearance in Battlefront 2, and how it seems to contradict itself. And you'll see what I'm saying once we get into it. So let's have a quick look at this scene, and then let's talk through how I built it. So the first thing you'll notice in the scene from A New Hope is it looks like the Dowager Queen is sitting almost backed in. And how you can how I interpret it anyways, is there's a fin
that you can see circled here. So it looks like it's basically the engines are buried underneath, and that fin indicates the front of the ship is up top. When I built the first part of my model, I was using that scene from New Hope as my guide, and it didn't have the top. So you can see I built it facing up, almost like it crash landed, fin in the back, the little radar dish. And then I went and looked at the battlefront picture, and this is where the problem came in. The battlefront picture looks like the Dowager crash landed face down with the engines up in the air. And also when you look in this picture, I don't see the fin anymore. In fact, I believe you can see the fin on the other side. So really this picture, in my opinion, is in conflict with what we see in New Hope, where the fin, and I'm going to jump back to that now so you can see, the fin is towards the bottom. So it looks like the engines are buried. So I had no choice but to kind of use both of them together, the top and the bottom, which makes for a real funky design. You see the fin at the bottom, which makes it look like it should have engines there, but then the engines are at the top. So which way did this thing crash? But at the end of the day, when I put it on the board, I decided to go kind of with the canon sources, which are a little in conflict and might be a little weird, and maybe Battlefront was using a different angle, or showing it maybe over time they moved it. But I went the pure canon route. I took the bottom half of the Dowager from the New Hope scene with the fin at the bottom, almost looked like it backed and crashed. And then I did the top of it with the Battlefront picture with the engines at the top. So when you look at it on my board, it's going to look a little funky, but that's the closest I could come to getting it right with canon. All right, enough of that canon gobbledygook. Let's see it on the board. So this is my Dowager Queen next to the Cantina on Mos Eisley. This is from the backside. Now let's take a look at the front. I did add a few more extra details like the rust, the red rust color. I didn't make it the brown tint or kind of the covered with sand look because it just tended to blend right into the environment. So there it is. Now I haven't done a flyover in a while, so I just wanted to do a quick little one flying over Mos Eisley with the Dowager Queen on it now. And one last look at the Razor Quest. So here's a nice quick flyover with a little musical interlude. Wait a minute. What the heck? I can't believe my assistant put Jar Jar on the board.
All right, well that does it for this episode of Lobricks. Don't forget to check out my assistant's video, which is coming this Friday. Also, join us here every Wednesday. It actually launches like Tuesday at midnight. So we'll be back next week. As always, please like, please subscribe, leave us your comments and feedback. We'll see you next week. Have a great week, and bye.